Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli, producer BBD, as we talk about the wild world of sports. A little bit of baseball off the rip, per usual. That's what you guys like. Just a couple big picture items or things that I've heard a lot early on in this baseball offseason. I've already got a little bit of the offseason, I don't want to say the offseason hangover, but a little bit of the okay, I know who the free agents are. I know who some of the trade candidates are. Let's start actually doing it. Because right now there's just too many open spots. Because that's going to be the fun part of free agency for me is when stuff starts getting nitty gritty. And it's okay, Corbin Burnes did sign with the Mets. Is Max Fried going to go Baltimore? Atlanta? Secret third option? So again, we'll talk a little baseball. I did watch a fun basketball sporting event last night that I want to talk about that a little bit as we get back into the regular sports cycle a bit. Tee up the football weekend and so much more. Sorry for all of the tones in my voice there. Let's talk some ball quick because we've been churning through the free agency, and I want to open it up to the people a little bit. What are you guys hoping to see? I've had a couple fun creative ideas come through my head. I thought about going through each division's off season a little bit. Say inviting Katie Wu on the show and going through her outlook on the NL Central. Because she's dialed in on her Cardinals, but she's probably got better thoughts on some Central teams. A couple of the other beat writers from different regions. Bring Carabas on, fist fight. No, we like Jared. He went to Jared. Some other teams, the perfect free agent fits. You're seeing a lot of these articles come out nowadays. So, whatever you guys are looking for your off-season baseball coverage, leave a comment below. Open to any concepts or constructs. For now, I think one thing I want to lock in stone. There was rumors about Alex Bregman going to Philadelphia today. Kind of makes a lot of sense. He fits that locker room. They could trade Alec Boehm as capital, spend the money for Bregman, the $25-30 million a year. You trade Boehm, you fill in your other needs that way. And those Phillies teams, they don't have a ton of needs. They are still one of the creme de la cremes as they try to build up their high-end talent. And my God, Bregman, high testosterone in that locker room. And yeah, Boehm has had his moments at third base. I know some of the numbers were fine this year, and it seems like he makes the play when he needs it. But Alex Bregman plays in a different category over there. And the bigger thing for me, a lot of the Tigers stuff. We did our free agency draft on Talkin Baseball. If you haven't checked that out, you should. There's a lot of Detroit Tiger stuff there, and I think I already did a little bit of this here, but it wasn't making sense to me. From the standpoint of the Tigers have a lot of needs. Sure, A.J. Hinch is there. That's how many times has a player signed at a place because his old manager is there? And who knows how that even, I don't want to say fizzled out, but
where those two at with each other.
Didn't end on the highest note. I'm sure they're fine, but I don't know. Usually free agency goes to the highest bidder, which, hey, maybe the Tigers are back in the game. I've been reading a few of the free agency articles, and, the Sun runs that team now, Illich. That if you remember, the Tigers went on a crazy spending spree during those, 20-teen years, all that, the pitching staff, Miggy Cabs, everyone. And then they kind of came out of that recently that, hey, they're back. And again, just a reminder, the owner does dictate that. That's why San Diego has a huge payroll. That's why the White Sox do not. Doesn't always matter by city. Matters by your ownership. So, for the Phillies, Alex Bregman, the defense travels everywhere. Sure. His homers travel there. If you bring up Bregman's spray chart, it's a lot of pull homers. Houston is a good place for him to play. Detroit would not be, man. That is a expansive outfield. It is cold there for a lot of the season. I didn't like the fit necessarily. Any team could use Alex Bregman. The guy said he's willing to play second base. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an Alex Bregman Yankees rumor that leaks out. How fun is that going to be? They could use him at both positions, actually. Jazz, figure it out. That's funny. Should we have talked about that?
Bregman on Talkin Yanks?
On the Yankees, yeah.
I mean, in Jeff Passan's thing, he had kind of a throwaway line about, well, and because Willie Adames is down to play third, he's on the Yankees board. I'm like, what? So there's a lot of ways a lot of things can go.
Hey, man, I guess that's the offseason fatigue I mentioned I'm starting to have. Is like, man,
I need like a domino to go.
Right. A couple things have to break, so it's like, okay, that team is going to be out on starting pitching. This team is out on that. Alex Bregman's still in play for those Yankees, although also a big left field like I was talking about. But I don't know. I had a bunch of Yankees. I had Jimmy and Joe's pushing Christian Walker on me, which don't get me wrong. Christian Walker, a fine ball player, probably in a single year better than Bregman. Kind of a question mark if I'm being honest. Go Snakes, and I know defensively and offensively where Walker's at. He's also older. That I don't know. If we're giving out that kind of money, I'd look at Bregman. Anyways, with all of that, the thing I can't get over hurdle-wise for the Tigers is I don't think they know who they are yet. They have so much young talent on the field that I think they need to let their hitting play out a little more. You can bring in one or two hitters, but to be paying Bregman $30 million on the left side, and Javi Baez still has 3 more years. Like Detroit may have those deep pockets, but with the Baez situation and then bringing in Bregman, that one has just never made sense to me. That everyone's been wondering what the Breggy home is. He is going to have suitors. I guess I keep hearing the Detroit one, and maybe that's just the John Boy media bubble, even though it's not. I'm going to rule that out for the people, and I'm willing to be wrong. The other thing that I guess I'll keep at third base. Hello. Nolan Arenado. I guess I didn't fully have him on my radar, and with that, I mean, if I think Alex Bregman could sign with Philly, Alec Boehm is a potential third base trade guy. Nolan Arenado. I've been wondering what's going on with my St. Louis Birds. And for me, I thought the equation was going to be this. The NL Central is still a little bit of a crapshoot. Sure, Milwaukee does their thing every year, but we've seen them bounce down a little bit. If Milwaukee was an 85-win team next year, is anyone actually shocked? No. Do they deserve to be treated better than that? Absolutely. But it's the world of baseball, injuries, young players, etc. Don't need to do the whole thing. But I thought the Cardinals, a proud franchise, they've kept Oli Marmol. Not sure why. Sorry. That was aggressive. Don't love myself. Coffee kicked in for a second there. Maybe he's great and they're going to kill it this year. That I was doing Cardinals math of, hey, they've got money coming off the books. Goldschmidt, off the books. Gibby, off the books. Lance Lynn, off the books. You can turn those 3 into 2 dogs. Probably another high-level starting pitcher to pair with Sonny Gray, although there's some trade rumors about him that I don't believe in at all because he's got a full no trade. It seems like he's going to hang out. That for me, I was trying to do some St. Louis math. Hey, you can inject this team with 2 studs with the money that just came off the book, so it doesn't have to look differently. Early returns out of there is that they're not going to do that. They don't want to spend money foolishly. They kind of want to find out who their young guys are, a la what I'm suggesting with Detroit. We'll see. I'm interested to see where their temptations kicked in with this free agency because there is pitching out there. And if guys' price tags land in the right spot, the other thing that we ignore a lot in these free agencies is, okay, say the Cardinals are actually out next year. And we've done this with a couple of the big boy free agents. St. Louis is a proud baseball city. If they think they're out next year, they think they're in the year after. So should that stop them from a Max Fried? Should that stop them from a Corbin Burns if the price is right? I don't know. Doesn't Corbin Burns give you St. Louis vibes a little bit? That beard? They haven't been rumored at all. I don't think they're in on him. But if they thought Corbin Burns is the guy for the next 6 years, I don't know. Maybe next year could happen if that price lands in an affordable area. I'm almost getting myself mad because now I'm creating more scenarios that could be very not real. And the last thing, and again, comment. You want different beat writers. You want more individual team stuff. You want divisional stuff. You want mock scenarios. I'm in for all of it, as you guys know, because I do Jones for this stuff. I said when I said I'm getting fatigued of it, it's more so I just want it to happen. Give me some action, Jeff Passan. We do, and it's a slight dunking of sorts, I suppose. We have to check in on our Angels. Of the work done this free agency, Cleveland brought back Austin Hedges. Yep. Aaron Bummer, 2 years, Atlanta Braves. He kicked in for them. People have liked him for a while. Heavy sinker, weird arm angle. Good. Michael Wacha re-signed. Royals got that done. Wacha's older, found a home. They want him. Bing, bang, bong. Other than that, it's a lot of halos. Kyle Hendricks, 1 year, $2.5 million. Fine. I'm not going to. Kyle Hendricks has pitched a lot of Major League Baseball. His best days are probably not ahead of him. He can throw you a couple MLB innings, and even if he can't for $2.5 million, that shouldn't hurt an MLB team, especially of the Angels' stature. And hey, honestly, if Kyle Hendricks gives you 5 good games, that contract is worthwhile. So here we go, halos. Here we go. Boom, boom. They traded for Jorge Soler, which, what was this during the World Series, or was it the day after, the moment after?
It was like the day after.
Because I remember I was talking to you, Beebs. I think we were doing Talking Baseball or even something with Jimmy, and they were like, you mentioned the Soler trade. I didn't hear about it. I think I was off Twitter the day after, and I don't think anyone was talking about it the day after. But Jorge Soler...
It's like the first day that it could have happened, it happened. Whether it was the day after, 2 days, whatever.
He's on your Angels. They trade him for Griffin. I don't know if he prefers that. Griffin Canning, I believe, was on my... I told our R&D department, a.k.a. Dalton Feely, to find me the next Luke Weaver. I think he had Griffin Canning potentially as that. Yep. The numbers are scary. Scary similar. As we've seen with the Atlanta Braves before, don't be surprised if they tap into Griffin Canning in some way. In the Soler thing, it was kind of funny that the Braves operate how we talk about teams. And then we question ourselves because we're like, oh, well, teams can't actually do all these deals. They traded for Soler because they needed bodies, and then the season ended, and they traded him out. They did that. Like, if we said that on an episode of Talkin Yanks, like, hey, why don't I know this guy's got 2 years left or 3 years left. Let's trade for him, get us through the rest of the season, then we'll dump him after
trade
the
him
year.
away.
People would be like, you guys are idiots. You can't
that doesn't happen.
You can't just trade
life.
for a guy and then trade. The Braves just did that. Let's see what they do with Griffin Canning. Soler, which I was going to be a little critical because Jorge Soler has a bit of history between the teams he's playing for and how he performed. That being said, he was good for the Giants last year, and he's like an adult. Like, Jorge Soler's not mailing it in just because he's on a bad team. He's a man now.
I think he had like slow start and figured it out.
Baseball happens.
Braves wanted him.
Baseball happens. 2023 with Miami had 36 homers and 853. This is his contract here. That's fine, as long as you're doing it. And last year he put together, a really solid season. 21 homers in 142 games, a 780 OPS for a 121 OPS plus. His numbers did tick up with the Braves. Was that the Braves? Was that anything? Who knows? He gets traded to the Angels. So, in my head, the Kyle Hendricks signing, it's one of those things that you want to laugh at because it's the Angels, and they've deserved the right to be laughed at. I think Angels fans would admit that to you. The Soler deal. I don't know. If Soler got traded to Houston, we'd all be like, oh, dude, look at that homer he hit at the train. Like, Jorge Soler is a really good power hitter, DH, that could maybe play some corner outfield in a pinch.
Soler's like June 1st through the rest of the year numbers. Real good.
Real good. So they bring in Soler, which, hey, again, if this was a different team, we'd be like, wow, look at these prices of free agents. They got some really good right-handed power in Jorge Soler, and they gave up Griffin Canning, who they might have been done with anyways. Sure. And maybe that'll be right. And maybe Soler will protect Trout and Rengifo and Ward, although I think Rengifo is a good trade candidate. The only real free agency signing that I feel has happened is Travis d'Arnaud. Waka re-signed. Those other ones I mentioned, Aaron Bummer re-signed. We're still at the infancy of free agency. Travis d'Arnaud signs and it pops up the Angels. And I was like, you know what? Hey, Travis d'Arnaud is a really solid baseball player. I was debating him having on my wish list for the Yanks or many teams this year. He's Travis d'Arnaud. I've seen him have multiple 3-homer games, maybe 3, maybe 2. He's got a really nice inside-out swing when it's on. He's older now, but, Travis d'Arnaud is a winning player, whether he's your starter, the best backup in a league for a few years. It feels like the catcher position around the league is, 120 games max. And that's high for a lot of the guys. That 36-year-old Travis d'Arnaud, whatever. You hear he gets a 2-year contract. The way I am now wired now is like, I'm happy for him. 36-year-old catchers ain't supposed to get 2-year contracts, if I'm being honest. And I'm like, okay, a little bit of an Angels tax there. I brought up the Angels roster because I was like, what's this look like? Basically, don't talk me into their over at any point coming up. What does the Angels roster look like? And I was kind of like, damn, there's a lot of outfielders there. Remember Mickey Moniak went nuts for a little bit, and it was like, remember, he was a 1-1 pick? His numbers ended up coming back to earth. Whatever. 26 years old. Sure, Mickey. Mike Trout was the best player ever until they brought a guy in on his team that could do something nobody else could do. Heard a lot lately. Give me the Mike Trout trade content. Come on, Philly. Figure it out, Dombrowski. Taylor Ward has been good. Nice. 25 homers last year. Joe Adell, 20 and 15. Some tough defensive plays. It felt like he was starting to find something, and somehow Joe Adell is still 25. So I'm not done writing the book on Joe Adell. So I was like, okay, that's a lot of outfielders, and now DH with Jorge Soler, that spot is essentially taken. If they need him to play a corner in a pinch, he can, but they already have outfielders, so that's not the thing. Okay. Anthony Rendon penciled in at third. Great. Let's see how that goes. Our guy Nolan Schanuel, we're never quite sure.
Never know.
The young first baseman, his stats are fine, if not good. He's 22. Yep. Zach Neto, we're going to be talking about how underrated he was all of last year this offseason. 23 homers, 30 stolen bases. Good defense at shortstop. Yes, Luis Rengifo at second. Talented young player got hurt last year. Might be traded. Yes. I had forgotten. I don't want to say the most valuable chip. It's probably Neto at this point. The rotation's a mess. I'm not even going to say the names because they need to trade for people. Kyle Hendricks currently slotted into their 3-hole. So let's just not. Jose Soriano, year 1. Which one of you has the scouting report on Jose Soriano right now? He actually has pretty good stuff. But the point is, I forgot about Logan O'Hoppe. Well, he's nails, man. He's a stud. And hey, if they do this right, like I talked about with the catchers, you got to juggle them anyways. You're going to get run out of 2 players there. The DH spot, although you just traded for Jorge Soler, who's primarily a DH, sneak d'Arnaud some days in there, but you can't really do that with both catchers because if you do and you need the other catcher, now you lose the DH. Whatever. Maybe they got a third catcher they could call up from the minors. I'll just be honest with you. When the d'Arnaud signing happened, all baseball fans had a little snicker, and it was like, come on, Angels. Really? Your early moves of this offseason are Hendricks, d'Arnaud, and Jorge Soler? When I saw that they had, and reminded myself that they had Logan O'Hoppe, just a little broken. Just a little broken. So, hey, I bought into the Ron Washington stuff last year. I know they're trying to get the LOL Angels out of them. They currently haven't this offseason, but they're one of the only teams that made moves. So I can't be fully critical yet, but my God. And if I'm the Angels, I am on the D-backs phone every hour. And I'm fighting for Jordan Montgomery because I would say that's what a perfect place to come back and build yourself up for half a season. You need innings. You can pay the tab of the $22.5 million. Jordan Montgomery just needs a change of scenery. Get that done. And to make it full circle, 20 minutes about mostly Tigers and Angels. Welcome. Jordan Montgomery in the middle of that Tigers rotation. Chef's kiss. All right. That was some random early around the horn baseball stuff that had just been on my mind that isn't the stuff that we've been doing. Again, let us know what else you want to hear. I'm actually really excited to talk about this because I did watch the Klay Curry game last night. So we'll ease into some NBA and a little bit of football. But first, why don't you look at this Blitzball Battle 5 pregame show? It's a big one.
Blitzball Battle 5 presented to you by DraftKings. So we got a pair of 1-0 teams going at it. McFlurry Power, who needed a 2-out, 2-run homer from K-Mac in order to survive.
Colin Stone was not himself yesterday. He could not find the zone. He had trouble with the velocity. That's something to watch today.
Forgotten Rotten eked out a win over Del Caribe, and they threw a no-hitter. Thanks in part to Shelfie. He was a guy we really didn't know much about coming in.
He is a guy that you can probably count on late in the game, but Trevor Plouffe was money on the mound yesterday.
For me, I'm going to take Forgotten Rotten. One, because they proved they can pitch yesterday. We know what they can do offensively. Trevor Plouffe hitting over 770 last year.
Forgotten Rotten for me too. I think between them and Loviers, they're the two teams that can score 10 runs and also shut you down. So I think it's going to be Rotten.
Not going to have a dissenting opinion. I too think
Wow. Forgotten
Rotten will get it done. You'll have to tune in later today to see for yourself. Blitzball Battle 5 presented to you by DraftKings.
All right. Coming into this episode, I was debating. I was like, should I just do a sports catch-up for everyone? But I'll be honest, I'm not fully caught up. I watched a little bit of the Knicks and Big Bodega. Karl Anthony Towns at it. Good behind the back pass, sure.
Couple real cool passes last night.
Yeah, let's go. The 5-5 Knicks are back. I thought about telling the storyline of the 12-0 Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't have the full story. It's cool. It's cool to see that team that hasn't had a ton of respect in the East, even though they've been successful with Donovan Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Kenny Atkinson. Remember how fun the Nets were before they blew up? Ty Jerome getting minutes for the Cavs. Georges Niang, Sam Merrill. Jesus, that second unit. Dean Wade.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No thanks. LeVert and Ernie. Happy for the 12-0 Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't have the full NBA catch-up for you. And, a couple years ago, we had a Trey Kirby up. If you tuned into that, thank you. That I would like to do an NBA catch-up at some point. I'll be honest, it'll probably be a little later in the season because I need the season to kick in a little bit more. 76ers 2-8. Yo. I did watch the Mavericks-Warriors game last night. the now 9-2 Warriors after their win, hosting the Dallas Mavericks, and Klay Thompson returning. So I'm buckled into the couch. I did start a new TV show last night, Righteous Gemstones. Got through 3 eps, which good start to a night. A lot of actors. I'm very much enjoying that show. Off to a good start. Excited for that. After that, I'm watching some hoops, and I'm like, you know what? This Klay vs. Curry return, I'm in. Sign me up. They've got the return video, which that's always a tricky game. That became a mockumentary a lot. You know why it became a mockumentary for a lot of people? Because they didn't have the rings Klay has. So the Klay video was pretty sick. Third quarter Klay. Most 3 points in a game, I believe Klay has. 60 burger. I forget what else they had in the montage, but they had that with the championships. Pretty sick montage. And there was a reminder why they mock. I don't need to throw anyone under the bus. They were debating if Kyrie was going to get a video in Boston, and that made a lot of the Boston people almost angry. So it was a sick video, and the crowd erupted, and it was pretty cool. They had some mic'd up players that they went, not live, obviously, but they used mic'd up properly. After the video, the place erupts. And they cut to some of the players later, and I forget who it was, but he was talking to one of the young guys, and he was pointing at the crowd, and he's like, you know what that is? Rings. That's rings, man. Because that crowd loved him. And then something even better happened. The game. And I don't give NBA games a lot of credit because we got a lot of injuries. Guys are out here and there. They've expanded their playoffs. It's a lot of war of attrition in recent years. It's like who's healthy during those final games. Part of the reason these Warriors were those Warriors. Klay, all-time basketball player in his own right, defensively, shooting-wise, all-time guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands. Maybe the uno of that. Obviously Steph Curry has changed the game, and he's still balling. When's that going to slow down? When do we start?
Is he still this good?
When do we start? I know LeBron gets the freak stuff, but Steph always hanging around in his own right.
That play style is almost more impressive how cardio forward it is.
Hey, I've seen old guys run and shoot for a while, but he gets to the 10. It's everything he does is awesome to watch. Curry's one of my favorite athletes to play any sport out there. So that was coming into that. I was like, hey, I'm gonna watch this game and I'm gonna enjoy that because it's could watch Steph Curry do anything. Got completely hooked by the crowd at the beginning. Is that the most sailor hats that have ever been in one room?
Yeah.
When you think about that, right? How many other places have that many people wearing that hat? That's got to be a world record, right? If you know something else, please let us know. So we've got that. We've got an emotional crowd. The thing that made the Warriors dynasty, and, we're probably going to get more, some behind the scenes stuff in a few years, is these guys were as competitive gets. And that's, sure, professional athletes. A lot of these guys are. These guys are a different world. That's how Steph Curry is Steph Curry. That's how Klay is Klay. That's Draymond's intensity that we obsess about. These guys are dogs. And they wanted it last night. And it was cool. Another thing the NBA wins at, they had the TNT pregame show. Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, Kenny. That gang kills it. They could talk about nothing and it's entertaining. But I enjoyed the conversation because Shaq got a head tilt out of me. Because Shaq goes, they talked after the big round of applause for Klay. And Shaq was like, you know what? I'm not going to do a Shaq voice because we don't need that today. Shaq said, he was like, you know what? He's like, there's actually zero pressure on Klay today. And I was like, I mean, no way. But he made a great point. He said, if the arena had booed Klay, if he had left on a bad note, let's say the Kyrie example from before, you gotta ball out. If you come back to that place and they hate you, it's on. Because if you have a bad game, you're getting killed the whole time. That is what it is. Charles piped back and he said, I disagree. Some good content television. And he was like, no, man. He's like, they told Klay, we don't want you anymore. Like, we're not going to make this work. You got to go. For Klay, this is one of his biggest games ever. And okay, we're doing a pregame television show. We're building it up. Klay Thompson. And you got to go through all this. Like, Steph was the star. Draymond gets a lot of headlines. Like, Klay was kind of the snake in the grass, but he has those moments. 60-point games and most three-point shots and third quarter Klay. He has all that. Klay was never fighting for the spotlight, but Klay's like, I was just a part of this as much as anyone. Hell, more than Draymond.
You could construct the argument Klay was a much bigger part of like what that team's identity was.
I mean, the Splash Bros. Like,
that's where it starts.
And these guys are so competitive that Klay wanted that game real bad. He came out of the shooting. They gave him the rock. It's one of the places where the NBA does win. Like, they ran their first play for Klay. Like, they don't, on another night, they may not have done that. But that night it happened. Klay goes off for a little bit. Curry was on the bench. Klay hits him with a Curry shimmy. Easy with that, Klay. You know. Not that guy. Not your guy. And they said, I think Dallas got in the night before, and I think they did a shoot around, and Klay like hung out with all the guys. So they got, the emotional, good to see you, bro. I don't know if they got dinner and stuff, but they got that out of the way before. So this game was full tilt. And then Curry turned it on because he had to. Because Curry and all of that, part of what makes him Curry, he wasn't going to let Klay take his night. What? I'm not going to let Klay come in, be pissy at them for not wanted back and all that. Curry was like, no, dude, because I am the guy. So Curry kicked into gear, which is always just one of the more unique things to see. They come back after having a couple spotty plays in the fourth quarter, looking like they were going to blow it. And it was just a great watch. So win for the NBA there. Couple funny Jake anecdotes. It is crazy, some of these guys on NBA teams that play that you're just like, where'd you come from? Najee Marshall got the start for Dallas. Like, again, I try to follow the sport, all sports, pretty decently, and I just wasn't as familiar with his game. D'Anthony Melton out of USC hit a big three late. That was nice. And Kevon Looney, just still doing it. A very Kevon Looney stat line. I can't believe he's 28 years old. What? Has spent all of his time in Golden State. I was going to use that as a trivia question yesterday because I was like, did he ever leave? Did he sign with a team? It clearly didn't work because it wasn't Golden State and came back. No, he's been there the whole ride. Kevon Looney. 1 year, he started 80 games. He's had 5 years where he started under 4. Kevon Looney's just been there, come in, grab some rebounds, put the putback in. And that just made me laugh. So, a good one for the NBA that night. Curry, 14 of 27. 5 of 12 from 3. Buddy Hield's interesting. We'll save more NBA for that. I think I got all my points I want to get out. That was really fun. And I guess my biggest note that I did forget to say was when I was watching it, I was like, this is super cool. Is this the equivalent to Scottie Pippen returning to Chicago? Because obviously there's some parallels there. And I was like, LeBron returns to Cleveland. LeBron was still like kind of in his prime, and that kind of hurt Cleveland a little bit. Like, I know he got them the ring, but
eventually made good, but that night was not welcome.
There's some mixed emotion. Like, I
don't know how mixed it was. 2010, 11, whatever year that was.
So, I was sitting on my couch, and the reaction the crowd had, the fact that it was this Warriors dynasty, the Splash Brothers, everything tied to it. I was sitting on my couch, and I was like, I don't want to say this is one of one, but this is extremely unique. This is extremely unique. This is kind of the end of a dynasty player, a core part of it, who still has something in the tank, coming back with an opposing team, a team that made a finals run last year. Still so beloved by the city. Like, the way it ended, the city doesn't blame him at all.
Yeah, like a big chunk of it is like just CPA, like hard to keep guys.
Franchise had to move on if they want to get better. Like, that, it was what it was. That you are not gonna see that applause a lot. I was gonna tweet it out, and then I don't know if you're on Twitter, just like listen on your phone late at night, you'd be like, that's kind of a normal applause. Didn't sound like a normal applause. I deleted the tweet. I didn't even post it. I just erased. And
erased
then
the draft.
Erased the draft. And then they came back to the TNT crew, and Kenny, who's usually not out there for clicks between that crew, he was like, I don't think I've ever seen that. So that was a fun one for me. So that's your NBA teaser, bringing into your football weekend. It starts off tomorrow night in Philly. The Eagles are back. Remember the disaster that was the Eagles? They were 2-2. They should have lost to the Saints. They could have lost to Green Bay in a game played in South America. Okay, NFL. They survived Cleveland, and then they've been on a run. The Eagles have won 5 in a row. Jalen Hurts' stat lines are starting to look more like how Jalen Hurts' stat line should look. Saquon is balling. The defense is coming together. They are hosting the Washington football team, the Commanders, now, who have become their race for the division this year. The Commanders are 7-3. They lose a crushing one to Pittsburgh over the weekend, a game they had. Your boy kind of had it right, just Mike Tomlin, the bye week. Again, Washington could have very easily won that game. That they go to Philadelphia in a primetime game. Jaden Daniels hasn't exactly been Jaden Daniels in recent games. People are wondering, is it the rib injury? Is it the league catching up? Is it a couple games? Could be anything. I'm interested to see. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite. If I had to, I'd be on the Birds. I think they're back to their dominant style of football. I don't think I will, because Sirianni still scares the hell out of me, and I think a lot of Eagles fans feel the same way. That leads us to Sunday. No early games sneaking up on Thanksgiving. That slate gets uglier by the day. Go look that up when you get a free minute. 1 p.m., Packers-Bears. Ooh. Bears fired their offensive coordinator. Caleb stuff is starting to hit a dangerous territory. Rookie quarterback, you're always going to get some leash. I watched Trevor Lawrence look about as bad as a rookie could for a full season. He's bounced back to Trevor Lawrence, whatever that is now. And just a reminder, Trevor Lawrence, when he came out as the 1 pick, that was a bona fide 1 pick. Do what you want with that information. It's in Chicago. That crowd should be fun either way. And I think Green Bay's coming off their bye week, which that's a tough draw for the Bears. Should be a good game to consume entertainment-wise. Jaguars, Lions, no thanks. Lions, I think with the biggest spread I've seen this year, 13.5. Do what you want with that. Vikings, Titans, not really, right? It's in Tennessee. Levis is back. No. Vikings need to put up another good game to remind people why they're 7-2 with Tennessee and Chicago coming up. They got Chicago twice left. Your Vikes are dancing big time this year. Sam Darnold, you haven't heard the hype around him recently. Couple not as pretty games. Raiders, Dolphins, no. Although if you're a sick pup, you could buy a little bit of Dolphin stock. Tua's back. Also, I have a Tua take that I haven't heard. Really hot. Tua did a pregame interview. He was wearing a sleeveless shirt. Double sleeve tattoos. And he had the hair out, and he's kind of got that, for lack of a better term, F-boy hair. I didn't know. Tua, like certified hunk. Okay. I don't know if you guys wanted that. And I don't know. I could see the Dolphins like getting a little juice. They beat the Rams last game. They have the Raiders and the Patriots. Like, we could be talking about the 5-6 Dolphins being back in the mix and looking at the games they lost without Tua. So I don't know. If you want Dolphin stock, there's some to be had, and now might be the last time to get it. Patriots, Rams. Oh, Rams, you kind of had your chance against the Dolphins at home. Coming out east to face the mighty Patriots, who took down the Bearskis last week. But you don't really need to watch that game, people. Gonna be honest. Saints, Browns, also no. Yikes. 2-7 versus 3-7. Woof. Colts, Jets, no. AR5, Anthony Richardson is getting the start for the Colts. He's back. Again, you might want to watch that game if you're looking for lowlights. Over-under's 43.5. What? Under. Lock that in. Ravens, Steelers. Here we go. I was looking for a good game. The 7-3 Ravens play the 7-2 Steelers in Pittsburgh. Okay. Baltimore opens up as a 3-point fave. Man, I believe if you watch this game, every year there's a game I turn on that's an AFC North game, and I'm like, whoa, the AFC North actually plays a different brand of football. These guys get nasty. There's actual, like, rooted hate between the teams. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if that's Tomlin. I don't know if that's Harbaugh. This division, the colder it gets, the later it gets, the nastier it gets, that I could see this being a nasty game. I'm seeing the over-under on that at 47.5. Give me the under. Ravens, still my Super Bowl pick. So at 1 p.m., Ravens, Steelers, that's it. But that is a fun one, so if you can. At 4, Falcons, Broncos, I'll watch. My horsies still don't have a wrap around me again yet. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons looking to bounce back against a tough horsies defense. Niners, Seahawks. Let's see if the Niners are back. -6.5 as they host Seattle. The 5-4 Niners versus the 4-5 Seahawks. Big game for the Hawks. Niners should have won bigger last week. Jake Moody, I won't forget. But with Run CMC back, Brock Purdy put up big numbers. Debo slapped the long snapper, and they won. Let's put it all in a good column for now. Chiefs, Bills. Trying to tell you guys. 9-0 Kansas City Chiefs against the Buffalo Bills, who are 8-2, 4-0 at home. The Chiefs are 4-0 on the road. Buffalo opens as a -2 favorite. Man, this one, you know what? Let's just bro this one up. Sometimes I try to fight bro culture. I have a little bit of it in me. There's some good stuff in there. There's bad stuff. This is the good stuff. Let's bet the over. It probably doesn't hit. That's just how it works. The Chiefs' defense has been great and their offense hasn't, who cares? Let's go over. Let's root for points. Let's root for Josh Allen to go nuts. Let's root for Mahomes to go nuts. Remember that Mexico game from a couple years ago? Let's bring that back. It wasn't the Bills. I think that was Chiefs-Rams. But that game was fuego. Again, I told you my sports mind theory is battling each other on this one. I could see this being the game the Chiefs have circled and saying, let's show everyone that we are here. Let's go 10-0. Let's beat Buffalo again. I like Andy Reid a lot more than I like McDermott, the Bills head coach. I could see this being the Chiefs turn it on game. I could also see the Bills, who are serious again this year. They feel retooled. Having Diggs out feels like they almost have more offensive options to spread the ball to. James Cook has taken a step. That the Bills in Buffalo to knock off the undefeated Chiefs, to take that from them after what they've taken from you. This is the moment that I would lean Buffalo, and God, I hate it. So let's throw it up. Let's take the over. Come on. And then at night, if you're looking for more, Chargers, Bengals, absolutely. Herbert and Burrow. 6-3 Chargers host the Bengals. Bengals, again, full fight for their life season. You guys know where I'm at with Burrow and the fight he put up against that Baltimore team. If they can survive their next 2 weeks, Chargers, you got to get that one. They host Pittsburgh the next week, AFC Norris football. Then they've got Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver, and they finish with Pittsburgh. It's a playoff game for Cincy. I'm going to ride with them, even though they've already broken me. I guess I'm back. God damn it. Them losing to the Ravens by 1 has brought me back. I just love Burrow. I'll go down with that ship. God, I love Herbert and Harbaugh, though. But I think they can take that game and the Chargers won't be hurt. I also don't think the Chargers are fantastic. I think they've just been handling their business. These are the Chargers' wins. Vegas, Carolina, Denver, New Orleans, Cleveland, Tennessee. If you take out the Broncos, those other teams are like the worst teams in football. They've lost to Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Arizona. All those teams leading their division or close to leading their division. So I don't know. Cincinnati splits the gap of those teams. We'll find out. Cincy, don't hurt me in a bad way. Burrow Hive raise up. Chargers a 1.5-point favorite at home, which means if this was a neutral field, it would be Bengals like -3. And from what I've heard about the Chargers' home field, it's not the best home field advantage. So maybe you guys can take that. Texans, Cowboys on Monday. How about them? Little Texas two-step for you. So if you have to sacrifice the afternoon, you can get caught up on the Ravens-Steelers games at 1 because you need to watch Chiefs-Bills. That's one of those things when you're old, you're going to be talking about Allen and Mahomes, like in the duels they had. So you're going to want to tune into that one. And I think the night game will be fun too. So football, Thursday through the weekend, they've got it. Hopefully some baseball transactions start moving a little bit. Begin the dominoes. And yeah, we'll get caught up on some of the other sports while sinking our teeth further into baseball, waiting for the calendar to turn to Jan 1, because then it gets really real. Tell them about Uncle Dan.
Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, Cowboy Media, and Workhouse Media.